If you want to be a great manager, there is no single more important skill to master than learning how to effectively check in with your people. Right? Checking in ensures that you know what's really going on with your people so that you can provide the support that they need. But more importantly than that, it helps you build a stronger, better relationship with each one of your people. And here's the benefit. It doesn't just work as a manager. It also will make you a better friend, a better spouse, a better parent, a better neighbor. Right? Simply by learning how to more effectively check in. I mean, think about that person in your life who checks in on you, checks in with you frequently. That person that really wants to know how you're doing, that wants to make sure you're okay. Maybe it's a parent or a friend or another family member. Think about how that makes you feel, right? It's pretty impactful. Think about how you feel about that person. Right? I want you to be that person for all of the important people in your life, both in your personal life and the people that you lead and are responsible for as a manager. And it's as simple as learning how to check in. So let's get into it. An effective check-in actually has 4 steps, 4 simple steps that once you master them, you can apply it in all parts of your life. So let's start with number 1. And number 1 is every check-in begins with a great question. And this is something actually that we get wrong a majority of the time when we are, with good intention, trying to check in with people. We ask questions like, how are you? Or how's it going? Or how have you been? Right? All well-intentioned questions. But these are not great questions. Why? Think about what answers you get when you ask those questions. What do people say? How are you? How have you been? What do they say? They say, good, busy, okay. What are you going to do with that? What does that actually tell you? It tells you nothing. It tells you that they don't believe that you actually care about what's going on with them because you didn't ask a great question. So you have to start with a great question. A great question is one that invites a response that demands a follow-up question. So when you say, how are you? And they say, good, that doesn't demand a follow-up question. Oftentimes that's just like, oh, okay, good, me too, and off we go. A great question sounds different. My favorite check-in question that is a great question is actually just a modification on the how are you or how have you been. It sounds like this. How are you on a scale from 1 to 10? 10 being amazing, 1 being terrible. Now, again, very simple question. Doesn't take them any longer to answer that than it does the not great question of how are you? But now when they give you a number, that almost begs for a follow-up, right? If you say, how are you on a scale from 1 to 10, and I say 7, and you don't ask me a follow-up, I'm going to be left scratching my head. Because 7 by itself doesn't tell me anything, but it opens the door to a really interesting conversation. So step 1, ask a great question. A great question is any question that invites a response that demands the follow-up. So obviously the next step is ask the follow-up question. This just requires you to be curious. So when someone says, if you ask the 1 to 10 question, how have you been? Scale from 1 to 10. And they say a 7, or they say a 3, or they say a 5, whatever it is, it requires you to be curious. Ask the follow-up question. Tell me more about that. If it was, let's say they say it's a 7 or an 8, right? So they're on the positive end of the scale. You might say, tell me more about that. Sounds like things have been going well. I'd love to hear about what's been going on. That's a follow-up. If it's a 5, right in the middle, you might say, well, it sounds like a mixed bag. Would love to hear more about what's been happening. Can you tell me, like on the good side, what's been going well lately? And then you might follow that with another question that's like, okay, well, what's the difference between a 5 and a 10? Like, what's holding that number at a 5? Like, what's not been going as well, right? That might open up a pretty interesting conversation. If someone says they're a 2, right, that's a cry for help. They want to have a conversation. So when they say a 2, it's say, wow, that doesn't sound good. Like, what can you tell me about it, or what's been going on? Is it something you're comfortable sharing with me? I would love to hear. Maybe I can help, or maybe I could be supportive in some way. No matter what they say, they've just opened the door for a really interesting conversation, right? You go kind of very quickly from asking a question to being into the conversation that really matters with that person on that day. So once you ask that follow-up question, you go to step 3, which is really, really listen. Listen to what they say. Listen to what they don't say. Pay attention to, their emotion. Pay attention to their inflection. But it's once you've asked the great question in the follow-up, this is where the magic is. This is where they reveal to you the things that are most important in what's going on that day. And once you have heard them out, maybe you ask some follow-up questions, maybe you have a conversation about it. The 4th step of a great check-in is to offer support and encouragement. So if maybe when you ask that great question, it's a 1 to 10, they give you a 9 or a 10, they talk about how everything's going great and things have been going well and all these things are happening, right? This is an opportunity to provide recognition or support or encouragement to them. If they were on the other end of the spectrum and they're really struggling and they tell you about some things they're struggling with, it might be asking, like, what can I do to support you? Or what would support look like for me right now? Or is there anything I can do that would be helpful? Right? Providing support. Can I connect you to some resources? Right? But it's offering support or encouragement. That's step 4. So 4 simple steps. Ask a great question, ask the follow-up, really listen, and then offer support or encouragement, or both. Those are the 4 steps of an effective check-in. Now, I know that you may be wondering, well, is that the only great question that we have? What other great questions are there? Well, I've provided you a resource in the comments below. You can link. There's a download that you can request and have emailed to you that has 18 great check-in questions you can use in different situations to spark an incredible conversation in a check-in. Check-ins can take 3 minutes. They can take 3 hours, depending on the situation, but they all follow the same structure. 4 steps to a great check-in. You'll become a better manager, a better friend, a better spouse, a better parent. You'll have better relationships all around. So take the 4 steps, go start having better check-ins, and I'll see you next time.